Hey guys, what's up? It's Penny Keats again. Just thought I'd do a little show and tell here for you. Just gonna go through a couple of my bass tackle boxes and show you what I got. Right now, I just have my bag set up for just quick trips to the ponds around here. So I just have two little bags, two little boxes of hard baits, and then a handful of bags of soft baits. So I might have to split this in a couple of parts. We'll see how long it goes. So for now, I'm just going to go over my first Plano box and show you what I got in there. I'll start with, the biggest first, I guess. This right here is my River to Sea S-Waver, it's called. It's a hard plastic glide bait. What a glide bait does is you cast it out and you reel it in real slow, and it stays pretty close to the surface, within a few feet of the surface, and as you reel it in, it just sort of slowly glides back and forth like that, and I guess the idea is that, it's a slow moving, probably injured fish, as the bass would think, and it gives them something to key on and come get it. This one's a larger size bait, so it's for a bit of the bigger fish. I actually haven't really caught any real big fish on this. The largest I've got is about 2 pounds on this, which is not a giant, but it's a decent fish. This is the middle size S-Waver. They have a smaller one, and then they have an even bigger one, but I just go, middle of the road. I don't get to fish it too often because it's not always viable in the ponds when I'm just taking a quick pond trip. Like, if I really want to grind on it all day, maybe I'll get a bite, but sometimes I'd just rather more guarantee my success than just hold out for maybe getting that big one and just getting nothing at all. So that's that. It's got some pretty good sounds, so we'll try that out. Hopefully you can hear it. Hopefully you guys can hear that okay. I haven't really dialed in my setup yet. I'm still experimenting with some mic settings and all that stuff, and as you can see, I still have the mic right in front of my whole face, so still gonna work around that. I'm kind of confined to sitting at my desktop at the moment, so hopefully soon we can get some new scenery and stuff going on. So that's the S-Waver right there. Where did he go? Oh, here he is. This is another sort of swim style bait. This is more of just a strict swim bait, just imitates a fish swimming. Unlike the glide bait, it has more of a subtle action, like just the tail here wags back and forth like that. So that's pretty cool. I've never caught a fish on this. Same situation as the S-Waver. It's not always the best option for these smaller ponds, and so I don't give it a lot of time, and when I haven't had much luck. But this is one of the smaller sizes. It's about, I think it's like a 4.5 inch one. A lot of the, like, I want to say bigger, or like the essential, I guess we'll call it the essential swim bait, is like made by a brand called a Huddleston, which is the same thing in imitation trout, but their basic one is 8 inches, so this is relatively small for that. But this guy, he's cast him out, let him sink down, and just sort of wiggle him across the bottom. Check him out. Hopefully the camera focuses. Hopefully that worked. In testing, the camera has been, when I tested before I set it up, the camera's been focusing on changing focus okay, but then when I record a video, it goes wrong. I actually recorded this whole thing yesterday, but somewhere along the line I clicked the wrong button and erased all the audio, so here we are again. Hopefully this one's better. Moving on in this box here. Alright, right here I have a couple. These are other swim baits. These are just like a basic soft plastic swim bait. As you can see, it doesn't have a lot of the realistic details, just sort of imitates a fish. These are by a company called Kitech. These are the swing impact. This swing impact fat, and then it's the regular swing impact, smaller and not as thick of a profile. Hopefully you can see that. Anyways, yeah, these are fish that are a little different than both. These generally, if you're fishing them on their own like this, you just cast them out and reel it in and just let that little tail action do the work. They have these little ribs on them that really get it moving in the water really nice. You can use these for multiple things. This one I have rigged up on just a regular old, I believe it's like a 3/0 size wide gap hook, and you thread it through the head and come out the bottom, so the fish comes up and grabs it, slides down, and the hook exposes and set the hook. What I'll do a lot with these is I will put them on the back of a swim jig or a jig swim head, which I'll show you in a minute, and use them as a little trailer. It kind of beefs up the profile, gives it a little more enticing. For those of you who may not know, or if you don't fish for largemouth bass or at all, bass tend to be opportunists and ambush hunters. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll sit there in a point where they're in cover back in the weeds or something, or by some rocks, and they have a view of what's going on outside. So when something like a little bait fish comes by, they can pounce on it, which is kind of how you can get away with things like this, that don't look like a fish. I mean, it resembles a fish, but it doesn't really look like one. Is when that comes by, a lot of times they just see it as a free meal, so they gotta go for it. So they go and they grab them. I don't know why this guy's in here by himself, but this is a fluke. This is a lot of times referred to as a plastic jerkbait, which I'll show you some hard plastic real jerkbaits in a minute. But this guy's a little different. This guy is another fish imitation, but you cast it out there and you let it sink to the bottom, and you sort of pop it up, come back down, and fish grab it. I actually caught pretty good sized fish on there. I didn't get a chance to weigh it at the time, but based on another fish that I have weighed that weighed a little over 5, I'd say it was in the same ballpark. But yeah, I caught it on a fluke. Yeah, that's that. Pretty cool. Little waggly tails. Now here's another Kitech that I actually cut the top off of so it was flat, so I could fit it on a swim jig. Which, speaking of swim jigs, there's a swim jig right here. This is a bluegill colored one. So you can see it has like this. This is called a skirt right here, and it has this really long extension skirt to give it more of a profile going through the water. And it has this flat head. It's almost like a grass jig head. This flat head, so it'll deflect off stuff in the water. So cast it out, reel it in. If you get the little trailer on there, that little tail will flap. It'll come through, and with the color and the skirt, when you're fishing, it sort of undulates. Gives a real nice effect. Check that out. See, there's the head right there. Nice hook in there. A little weed guard. Pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of this one, actually. I don't even know where it came from, but it's really light. So, yeah, it's really hard to really burn through the water. It comes up to the top a lot, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan. Also, another random plastic in here is I have it's called a baby brush hog. It's pretty good. It's got these sort of frills going on here to kind of imitate, just like a kind of a crawdad or just a creature in the water. This nice, it's a pumpkin seed color right here, like a nice natural color for the bass to key onto. Once again, this is just rigged on a regular old hook right there. Tie this on, cast it out there, let it sink. A little pop. Hopefully they come for it. Pick that guy out. Hopefully that's focusing. Sorry if it's not. I'll have to. If it turns out none of that focused in this video, I'll have to work on that. All right. So I mentioned the fluke being the plastic jerkbait earlier, so soft plastic jerkbait. So right here I have a good amount of some real actual jerkbait, so I'll show you those. Around here you can get pretty easy and ready access to the California Aqueduct, and the California Aqueduct is a really fun place to fish. You can get largemouth out of there in some areas, but the main appeal for people of the aqueduct is you can catch striped bass, which actually can live in saltwater or freshwater. So the aqueduct, they come through there, and up I believe it's the San Joaquin Reservoir. I don't think that's right. I don't know why I can't think of it, but anyway, they come in there, but they're a lot of fun to catch. But the main bait I'll use down there, and for the most part the only one, is jerkbaits. The striped bass really key in on those. I'm not sure why, but yeah, this is the one I've been using most lately. I had another one that was my number one, but I lost it. Got it hung up and had to let it go. So this is a KVD, Kevin Van Dam Strike King jerkbait right here. You can check that out. Give it a second to maybe focus. Yeah, you probably can't tell in the video, but it's actually kind of translucent, which is really nice when the aqueduct is real clear. Just sort of doesn't make it so, kind of gives it blend in a little more natural to the striper, so they can key on it. But these guys usually will cast them out. They'll go in. There's a spinning bait, so when you let them go, they'll kind of just stay in one spot in the water column like that, and then you can just reel them in a little bit, and then give the rod, a little jerk, which will have them dart around and then sit, which, to my knowledge, gives the imitation of like an injured or a dying bait fish. So once again, back to the those opportunists. It's a free meal right there. All those striped bass, unlike regular largemouth bass and spotted bass, tend to be a little more aggressive. They'll find those fish, or in this case fish, and they'll chase them down and get their meal. It has some metal bearings that are actually used for casting, but might be able to get some good sounds out of it. So see. Alright, this is just a basic Rapala jerkbait. It's just a reflective silver to sort of just catch their attention. This is like one of the first ones I got when I really heard about jerkbaits, and so it was pretty cheap. I haven't really used it that much. I haven't had any luck on it, but you can check that guy out. And these little bills right here are what catch the water when you're reeling it in. And that's what pulls it down into the water to keep it, at a nice place in the water column. So the bigger the bill, the deeper it goes. See if we can get some noise out of this one. Maybe not so much on that one. This next jerkbait, it's a little different than the other ones, as you can see by the bill right here. This is one of my nicer jerkbaits. This is a Duo Realis deep diving, a nice bluegill prism color. And as you can see, it has that deeper bill, so it really pulls it deep down into the water. I don't really use this one at the aqueduct, mostly because of the deep diving thing, but I use it a lot at small lakes, maybe when there's a lot of rock at the bottom. Work it, and it's the deep diving, so to really slam in and bounce in and out of those rocks, which the bass really like to key in on. Hopefully this guy focuses, because it's really neat. I really like the way this one looks. Duo Realis is actually a a Japanese brand, so pretty cool workmanship. And this one has some really cool rattles, so. Yeah, and I mentioned the bearings in these before. I mentioned the casting, but what they actually do is there's a little chamber inside that lets them sort of move back and forth, and they'll load up on one side when you back cast, and then as you release your cast, they'll actually move to the other side of the bait to help transfer that weight, so you can really get some good distance. And then of course they add weight on their own, so they give that bait a little heavier, so you can really get it going. If you hear any snoring in the background, it's actually my dog, Fish. He's sleeping right over there, taking a little nap in his little cage. All right, a couple more here. All right, this is another Rapala jerkbait. This one's actually a combination of a couple of the things I've mentioned. It's translucent, and it's also kind of like real shiny. I don't really use this one that much either, but it looks kind of cool. I really like it. There's a company called Lucky Craft that makes jerkbaits that I really like. So after I really found out about the Aqueduct, I had bought these jerkbaits before the Aqueduct. I picked up some Lucky Crafts, and I've been really set on those. Unfortunately, I've lost both of them that I had. Actually, I had 3. Lost them both, but I'll get some more soon. I haven't been to the Aqueduct much. Like I said, it's been going to the ponds. So but these guys got some little BBs. Let's see. All right. One more jerkbait, I think. Yeah. This is a little, or I believe it's a Rick Klung jerkbait. It's a smaller one. It's actually kind of like it's sleeping, dreaming or something. It's actually a smaller one. It's got some little bluegill color, little gold flash. We just wanted to duck a few times. I haven't ended up catching anything with it, but I do use this one at one pond in particular near my house that's full of bluegill, and the bass average size isn't too big there, so they really like this smaller profile. So when they're being a little picky and want like a slower, more time to decide to eat something, I guess this works out for me. Check him out. Check out his BBs. Alright, almost done here. Got a couple crankbaits in here. This is just a classic square bill crankbait. And like I said with the bills before, this little short bill keeps it pretty high in the water column. And it's a square, which gives it sort of a different wobble through the water. And it also gives it nice deflection. The way you want to fish a crankbait usually is cast it out, reel it in, and you really want to work it off the whatever cover may be down there, branches, rocks, give it some nice deflection action, bouncing around, really entice the bass. This is a little bluegill color, but I have a lot of luck with bluegill around here in these little ponds because, that's what the bass are feeding on there is crawdads, bluegill usually. This one has some really nice rattles in it, so check that out. Alright, here's another jerk bait that I use. I use this one kind of a lot, actually. Once again, this one actually has a larger bill, so it dives a lot deeper, which with this crawdad color, I find really works for me. I'm able to get it down to the bottom of the ponds, almost dragging it through the dirt, or digging in the weeds and the rocks, which some of the bass, when they're around here, may be a little picky, not real aggressive hunters. So when they see that down at their level, they don't gotta go up to chase it or whatever. They really key in on it. There's a lot of crawdads that they're feeding on, so this is a good one. I really like that one. Alright. I also have, some hooks in here. They're like the hooks that I'll use to put, whatever on. Like I had the baby brush hog on one of the Kitechs on these. Yeah, these are a 5/0 hook, pretty large hook, but it's a pretty good size. It covers most of the plastics you put on it. Some bullet weights right here. When you're using those hooks with the plastic, you'll actually thread this on before the hook, so it gives it some weight, and this sort of pointed bullet shape. Hopefully that's focusing. I feel like it's not. That pointed bullet shape really pulls it through the weeds, so that's pretty cool. And this might actually have some good crinkle sound. And this is actually like a swim bait jig head, basically, that I'll put the Kitechs on and things. Just a hook like you have on a jig with a little fish head. The shape makes it swimmable, so you can just thread it on there, cast them out, swim them in. So when it's rigged on, it would kind of look like this. Oops. Something like that when it's actually hooked up. So that's that. Let's see. And lastly, maybe lastly, where'd he go? Oh, he's on my leg. Lastly, I have just what it looks like. Frog. What you'll do with a frog, actually pretty cool. It's a really exciting way to fish. It can be a little tricky, but it's a lot of fun. Is you actually cast this frog on top of the water, and preferably on some weeds, some mat that they'll be hiding under, and a frog would be casted out there on top, and sort of to work your rod tip back, so you can actually get the frog to do sort of a walking motion across the weeds. And what's really cool is the fish will come up from underneath, jump up out of the water to grab this frog, pull it down. They're called a soft hollow body frog because they're hollow in here, and they compress real nice. So these hooks come out, and then you can set the hook on them. And for anyone who's wondering, I catch and release only, so I don't keep them and kill them and eat them. I basically just ruin their day, give them free piercings, I guess. But yeah, that's what frogs are, really neat. So yeah, so that's it for the first one. I'll go through the second one here for another video and go through some of that stuff, and then maybe later on we'll go through some more things that I have, my larger collection. Yeah, so that's it for today, guys. Let me know what you think. If you guys fish yourself, what do you fish for? What are your favorite lures, baits, however you do it? Love to hear about it. So alright, guys, it's afternoon here right now, but hopefully maybe we watch this tonight, help you get some sleep or just relax. So in that case, Hey, good night.